This is my team. You know what that means. This is for the black and blue that I bleed. This is for the chance to bring home that ring. But everybody gonna doubt this. So far there ain't been another way around it. We bring heat to the game each week. They just say we ain't got what it takes. We ain't bout it. Well, y'all can just keep saying that we ain't gonna make it. But at the end of the day, this will be the Panthers nation. You know, this ain't a game to us major players at every angle that you can think of. That's why you hate us. Get out the way of greatness. You can look at our faces and see the blood, sweat, and tears that it took to create this. Yeah, I know what you're thinking, but you can save it. Cause even on the darkest of days, you know we're always gonna find a way to tell them what we gonna do. We gotta
What's up? What's up? What's up? We got a brand new staff, brand new Panthers team. Let's get this rolling. Yo! I see Emerson L. I see Twerma. I see Sean Bradham. I see Torian Harris in the Facebook chat. What's going on? Lock Poppy over in the YouTube chat. Shout out to all y'all. What's going on, man? Before we get started, hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit that bell, select all, leave a comment down below if you feel like doing so on YouTube. And don't forget to check out the Facebook group page. Keep pounding in all caps for in-game posts, polls, opinions, and reactions to NFL news, as well as scheduling for the channel and Fantasy Football Yahoo Sports Fantasy Football League whenever we get around to that next year. So, without further ado, the brand new Panthers coaching staff. Now, you're going to hear a lot of talk about this coaching staff around the league. You know, and I want people to remember one thing before we get heavily into all the accolades and everything else that everybody's put up as far as their resumes. Notice one thing in common. One thing in particular. Experience and Super Bowl or Pro Bowl experience. And it starts with Frank Wright with the Indianapolis Colts formerly. And we're going to be digging into a press conference, introductory press conference of his. We're going to break it down. We're going to discuss that in a little bit. But first, I want to go through this entire staff. I want to take a look at what we're doing with and who we just hired. You know, these guys are, in particular, very, very interesting gentlemen. And each in their own way. So, that in mind, let's start with Mr. D'Angelo Hall, the defensive backs coach. We just hired him today. I just got word of that today. Now, I'm going to throw this up on screen for everybody. Bam. Alright. I think we should go with the newest hire here. And I'm going to save one coach in particular for last. Because I got some strong talking points about one of them. But we're going to wait on that, alright? We're going to go to least to most important. Now, we're going to start with D'Angelo Hall here. Assistant defensive backs coach. Now, what we know about him right now is that he was a former Atlanta Falcons DB's coach. That's what I've heard. And with that in mind, he has worked with quite a few decent Atlanta coverage people, including AJ Terrell, who I know very well from the Clemson squad. And I remember exactly when he got drafted, too. Now, he was also a former Falcons player, and he got selected in the 2004 NFL Draft by the Falcons. He was formerly a Virginia Tech Hokie and 8 back-to-back Pro Bowl nods in his second and third campaigns. Well, not 8, but back-to-back Pro Bowl nods in his second and third campaigns. So, he went to the Oakland Raiders for half a season, then went on to the Redskins in 2008, and finished with one more Pro Bowl selection in 2010. Now, he became a wide receivers coach. He became a coach for the DBs. I'm still learning a little bit about D'Angelo Hall right now, so bear with me, folks. I'm a little out of sorts. I haven't done much streaming for a little bit, so work with me. Let me look at this YouTube chat real quick. Agreed, Lock. This is 100% the best staff we've ever had, and maybe the best in the NFL. Arguable. This has me excited for a new season. I don't know how long. Yeah, our defense coordinator is going to be excellent, I think, and our offensive coordinator. But also, how fast this team is going to play this year. Our new coaches are going to turn some of our players into X factors like DJ Moore, Jeremy Chin, Brian Burns, you name it. We have a plethora of Super Bowl coaches on here, and it's ridiculous. We are taking the NFC South by storm. That is arguable right now, because we haven't seen any of these coaches in action with our team players yet. We will see how that goes. But right now, their coaching records are very, very great. I love them. So I think we pretty much covered D'Angelo Hall as best we can here. Assistant defensive backs coach. I'm going to be watching him very closely. All right, so Peter Hansen. Peter Hansen is now the linebackers coach. Now, I'm going to come back to him in a little bit. This is the one I wanted to single out. There's a reason why. So we're going to move on to Dom Capers. Dom Capers is a senior defensive assistant. He was also working alongside Ejiro Evero with the Broncos. He was also quality control coach for the Green Bay Packers in 2016. And he called the defense in 2022 for Denver. I mean, this is an exciting hire right here. To not only get one guy from Denver's defense, which was top-notch in the league last year, but two, this is an excellent two hires right here. And we'll cover the other one in a minute, who became our defensive coordinator. But this guy also coached right when the two served the first head coach and starting quarterback duo in Panthers history during the Panthers' inaugural season in 1995. A lot of people are familiar with Dom Capers. This dude's been around for a minute and a half, man. 36 years of NFL coaching experience with 11 different teams. Now, I'm going to read this list out to you, and I don't think you're going to believe it. New Orleans, Pittsburgh, Carolina, Jacksonville, Houston, Miami, New England, Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit, and Denver. He also came back. He also served as the head coach for the Panthers in 95 through 98 and the Texans 2002 through 2005. Sorry, I'm going to be fumbling around because I'm just not used to this yet. Let me get back in the driver's seat, people. But both the Panthers and the Texans, in their first years as expansion teams, both times. He was defensive coordinator for the Steelers in 1992 through 94. The Jaguars 1999 through 2000, so basically a year there. The Dolphins 2006 to 2007, and the Packers 2009 to 2017. Since 2019, Capers has worked as senior defensive assistant for Jacksonville in 2019, Minnesota 2020, Detroit 2021, and Denver 2022. So this guy's got a heck of a resume behind him. So let's talk about a few of the people he's actually coached. Clay Matthews, everybody knows that name by now. Charles Woodson, Tremont Williams, Nick Collins, and his unit ranked 5th in yards allowed and 2nd in points allowed, sacks, and interceptions that season. Whew. Sheesh. I mean, what a hire. What a hire right here. And for those looking on YouTube, there's a pretty good picture of him as the Panthers' inaugural head coach. Yeah, that's a pretty cool picture right there. I love that. Let's see here. There's a lot to go through here for him. I'm gonna keep it brief, but he led the Panthers to a 12-6 record and an NFC Championship game berth. One of the years that he was head coach for us in 1996. But he won AP Coach of the Year in 1996. So that's pretty cool, man. Now here is his connection with Vic Fangio. Capers' coaching tree includes 2 active NFL coaches. He employed Dolphins defensive coordinator Vic Fangio when he headed up the Panthers from 1995 to 98. So, he has worked with coaches Dan Campbell, Tom Coughlin, 2-time Super Bowl winner, by the way, Bill Cowher, who has also won the Super Bowl, and Mike McCarthy, who also won the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if Dan Campbell's crew ever did it before, but y'all have to let me know in the comment section here or in the chat, because I don't remember Dan Campbell ever leading a team to a Super Bowl, but he may have. I don't know. That was before I started following, so. Capers coached 28 players who reached the Pro Bowl a cumulative 46 times. This includes Kerry Collins, Sam Mills, John Casey, and Clay Matthews, Julius Peppers, and Charles Woodson. Look at that, man. Look at that. I mean, this is a heck of a hire, folks. What a list right there. What a list. Woo. That's fire right there. That's a fire resume, if I've ever seen one. Man. All right, so and a few of these coaches have actually worked with each other before, so it gets a lot more interesting from here. We took a lot of our coaches from Denver and Detroit. We actually took one from the Rams too. Uh, and we'll get to Deuce Staley in a minute. We'll get to Deuce Staley. But if you were paying attention to Denver's defense last year, they ranked number one, actually. For a good chunk of that time, they ranked number one. All right, so let's talk about Josh McCown. He is the new quarterback's coach. Now, if you've been a Panthers fan for any amount of time, you probably know about Josh McCown. This dude's been around the NFL for a few minutes too. Carl says, I think Dan Campbell won a Super Bowl in 2010, but I could be wrong. Okay. If he did, which team was it with? I'm going to put my man on the task here. Let's see if he can figure it out. Because that was before my time, really, of really focusing in on the league. You know, I was just watching football just to watch football. I wasn't really digging into the details and all that stuff until 2004. Well, 2003, 2004 season. That's when I really started paying closer attention to the details and really getting into this game as much as I am now. So, our offense is going to be a mixture of LA Rams and Indy. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Yeah, I agree with that, Torian. Completely agree. So McCown. 5 things to know about him. He was offered a role as the Eagles coaching staff member after playing the 2019 season as a backup role to Carson Wentz. McCown's stint in Philadelphia included his postseason debut in a playoff loss to the Seahawks after Wentz went down with an injury. I do remember that, actually. That was a very, very tough injury right there. And Wentz was gone for a whole season there. And it sucked. And McCown was just asked to really step in and save the day. But he said no to the Eagles coaching staff because he wanted to continue playing in the practice squad. Went to the Texans. Interviewed for the Houston's head coaching position ahead of the 2021-22 seasons, but the Texans went with David Coley and Lovie Smith instead. That's not... Y'all blew it. You got Lovie Smith instead, and we've seen his history with Chicago and Indianapolis, and it just doesn't add up to wins. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. I love Lovie Smith to death, but he's not the greatest coach out there. If you're wanting a winning head coach. I don't know much about David Culley, but you know, best of luck, Houston. You're gonna need it with Lovey there. Speaking of Steve Wilks, I heard he took the defensive coordinator job in Arizona. Now that I don't like, because here's the thing, man. Didn't we have a coach that went to Arizona and he didn't do well? And oh wait, it was Steve Wilks. He had the head coaching job over there in Arizona already and got screwed over. Oh, he went to San Fran. Okay. You're right. Thank you. I'm getting my stats mixed up. See, this is what happens when I'm out of the streaming game for a week or two. I'm losing my touch a little bit here. I'm getting back in the saddle though. I appreciate y'all keeping me sharp. Um, but yeah, San Fran defensive coordinator job. Yeah. So Arizona screwed him over, so he goes to the San Francisco 49ers. Let's see how that goes. I'm really hoping this is not the third time this man gets screwed over because he deserves a head coaching job, man. He really does. He really does, man. Yeah, he'll do great at defensive coordinator, no question. No question at all. Yeah, that Niners defense is already solid. He'll have him up in the top 3 by the end of the year. With a good draft, oh yeah. In San Fran. Couple of free agent pickups that we can't get. Oh yeah. All right, so let's get back to McCown here. He's been around the league. So he's gone to Detroit, Oakland, Miami, Carolina, San Francisco, Chicago, Tampa Bay, Cleveland, the Jets, Philadelphia, and Houston. Plus he was up in Hartford, Colonials, too. That's interesting. So his career total was 17,731 yards with 98 touchdowns, 82 interceptions, a 60.2 average completion percentage, and a 79.7 passer rating over his entire career. Not bad numbers. But you see a lot better out there right now, obviously. He was Jake Delhome's backup throughout 2008 and played in 2 games. Was back up again in 2009, beating out Matt Moore for the spot. And actually did start after Jake went down in that game 1. The Eagles caused 5 turnovers in that game. Yikes. Alright, so sprained his left knee and left foot on the same play. Only quarterback I've ever seen do that, by the way. That is wild. Very bizarre. But that pretty much led to his demise in the NFL until he started coaching. So he worked with Sam Darnold in his rookie year. Competed with them for a job, served as his backup. Still had that right foot injury, but was recovering. Let's see. Retired in 2018. Became an ESPN analyst. NFL Live. Returned to Philadelphia after backups quarterback Nate Stuffield and Cody Kessler are injured. So there's a good picture of him in a Panthers uniform from back in the day. Throwback. Amazing looking throwback, by the way. Love it. So yeah, that's Josh McCown, and Panthers fans should very much be familiar with him. Um, his quarterback in a little bit. I want to go through this coaching staff before we get to that point. Before we get to the players. Uh, let's see. Black Poppy just wants us to be a winning team. I absolutely agree. You know, um, I'm happy with whoever we sign. Happy with whoever we sign as long as they've got NFL experience and they help us win. That's what I'm after. You know. Um, so here's another great signing, Jim Caldwell. Now, for those not familiar with Jim Caldwell, he was very, very much involved with two Super Bowls with Indianapolis. He had two different jobs during that time. He had an assistant head coach's job and a quarterback's coach job the other time under Tony Dungy. Offensive coordinator with the Ravens, and John Harbaugh in 2000. That's an excellent resume by itself right there. He worked with Peyton Manning. He worked with Joe Flacco. Both of them, which reached the Super Bowl and won it. So, his first connection with Wright started with his coaching career under Dungy in Indy. And that was when he was working quarterbacks coach. And when Tony retired in 2009, that was the first time he was actually promoted, like majorly promoted. Up to coach quarterbacks. The two worked together through 2011. Caldwell made a early successful run, 14-2 that season, to go to the Super Bowl, and lost to the Saints in that Super Bowl. Then they made another run with a 10-6 record, lost to the Jets in the wild card. But it wasn't until Peyton Manning had that neck surgery they went 2-14. So, I mean, with Peyton Manning suffering that injury, that is a downer for sure. That's going to screw up your season. No matter how good your coaching record is, no matter how good you were doing before that, when you're working with a veteran like Peyton, it's going to happen. So, totally understandable. Working with the Lions. Now, here's where things get a little bit interesting. He went to work as an offense coordinator in Detroit. Two playoff appearances and 3 winning seasons. 36-28. Got moved up to the head coaching job, and that's where you get that record. They made the playoffs once in the 14 years prior to his arrival. His winning percentage was the best for a head coach in Detroit since Buddy Parker in the 1950s. Anybody remember Buddy Parker that was paying attention to the NFL before then? I know Andy does. I know he's not watching the stream currently, but he probably does. He's our history buff up in here. So I'm pretty sure that name is pretty familiar to him. If not, I would be surprised. So 5 years since he was fired, the Lions have posted a 26-54-2 record. Ouch. Oof. I know we had a Detroit fan up in here, so he probably knows the Detroit history better than anybody up in this chat. I don't think he's currently with us in the chat right now, but he probably remembers a lot of that stint for the last 10 to 15 years, and yikes. Man. But, he was a quarterback's coach for Tampa Bay in 2001. Various assistant coaching jobs at 6 different schools. I'm not going to go into those, but, you know, we're only interested in the NFL ones right at the moment. But those are prominent names of prominent colleges, of course, that are important. Yeah, and our fans think we have it bad. Exactly, Carl. We could be the Detroit Lions. Y'all, we legit could be the Detroit Lions. And I'm telling you, these 6-win seasons are nothing compared to what they experienced, like, on a yearly basis. I mean, that's tough. Same with the Cleveland Browns for a good measure of time. You know, the Dolphins experienced that for a good 10 years under Brady controlling the AFC North. You know, so do the Jets. So they all know how that feels. You know, so we could be way worse off. We're better than those 3 teams. I know that during that tenure. So here's Deuce Staley. And Deuce Staley is the new running backs coach. Lions have been around forever and haven't been to a Super Bowl. That's true. I was looking on my news feed about a week ago, and I saw there were like, 6 to 8 teams that have never actually been to a Super Bowl, and we're one of them that haven't won one yet. You know, we've had 2 appearances. There were a couple of teams in that list that had a couple of appearances, but haven't won one. But the rest of them have never even made an appearance. And it's kind of wild. So yeah, Deuce Staley, running backs coach. There was a lot of talk about this guy right here. A lot of conversations. He's worked with a lot of good running backs. And as you can see, the Detroit rush game consistently improved, going from 4.42 yards per rush to 4.5 in 2022. Marks the 15th in the NFL ranking. The Lions' best since 1998. So, he also worked with Jamal Williams, turned him into a 1,000-yard rusher last year. And he also finished with the league's most rushing touchdowns in a single season with 17. 11 most rush yards, 1,066 yards. I'm very, very excited for this coaching hire right here. Super Bowl win with Frank Reich. Before moving on to Detroit, he spent 10 years on the staff in Philadelphia, where he also spent a large chunk of his playing career. These two coached together in 16 and 17, when Wright was the offense coordinator and Staley coached the running backs. The two helped the Eagles reach the Super Bowl and win for the first time in Philadelphia history in 2017, and he was promoted then to an assistant head coaching role, in addition to overseeing running backs. So he's got both roles, folks, and he did well with it. He was on that staff from 2011 to 2020. Special teams quality control coach from 2011 to 2012, spending the rest of his tenure coaching the running backs. So this dude has done nothing but really coach running backs. So he's had a number of years to do this and experience. And his playing history is just as fascinating. He got drafted in the third round in 1997. Played for the Eagles through 2003, battling various injuries, landing at Pittsburgh ahead of the 2004 season. Won a Super Bowl with the Steelers in the 2005 season. I remember that one too. That was right after we got our appearance in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. That was right after it. And though he was limited for much of that run due to the injury, he retired as an Eagle in 2007. It's a real shame because if you consider this was during the time of Andy Reid, the Chiefs' current head coach. I mean, you're talking Donovan McNabb, you're talking all the great Eagles players during that time period. And it's a doggone shame this man suffered that many injuries during that time because he could have been so helpful during that time. Oh, man. That was a real shame. And Indy never did win a Super Bowl with the Eagles during that time. But I think Deuce would have helped. For sure. That would have definitely increased the chances. And he's a West Columbia, South Carolina man. How about that? So, in addition to being a player under Andy Reid, he's now got Super Bowl experience, and he's worked with Frank Reich. I mean, what more can you want from this guy right here? I love this hire. I love this one. I mean, we chose the right man for the job. It is as simple as that. And he also played linebacker for the Gamecocks from 2000. His dad played. Wait. Oh, his son. Okay. His son played linebacker for the South Carolina Gamecocks, 2017 to 2021. So that's another interesting tidbit for all the Gamecock fans up in here. That's really cool, man. There's your Gamecocks connection. But yeah, I love that, dude. Great hire. Love Deuce Staley. I'm also happy to see Frank follow through, getting guys that will work well together. Yeah, and you'll see it in the presser where he says that he's not just hiring people that are buddy. He's not just hiring his best friends, and giving them an opportunity. And I feel like that was a cheap shot at Matt Rule, which was hilarious, by the way. But yeah, he's not just two birds with one stone there. He's not just hiring his old buddies. He's getting people that have experience and know exactly what they're doing. And have been to the Super Bowl, been to the playoffs, had Pro Bowl experience, helped coach Pro Bowlers, and this is, we are really getting into the nitty gritty here. Alright, so here's Parks Frazier. Parks Frazier is now the passing game coordinator. He worked with Frank Wright throughout his tenure in Indy from 2018 to 22. He called plays under head coach Jeff Saturday. So he assumed the interim offensive coordinator responsibilities 5 years into the NFL coaching career and 8 years into his coaching career total. So, and those play calls were very, very good. Not good enough to really propel the Colts because they were having a lot of quarterback troubles and a lot of injury problems. But, it was good enough to get them through the year. And hopefully draft some people that would help them. But unfortunately, they only had a couple of good years out of that. So, first pro coaching opportunity from Wright. They actually connected through a former teammate. And he was recommended by a close friend and assistant for Frank Wright's staff in Indianapolis. So there's your connection with Frank. He got hired as assistant to the head coach in 2018, promoted to offensive coordinator, quality coach in 2020. I didn't know that was a promotion, but okay. Frazier's responsibilities continue to grow under Wright. He worked as quarterbacks coaches in 2021, before adding pass game specialist to his title in 2022. His first work as a defensive quality control coach was in Stanford. Samford University, not to be confused with Stanford. I know they sound the same, but no, Samford University. It's totally different. And most people have probably not heard of it unless you're a basketball fan. I mean, let's be honest. They're not known for football. They're not really known for basketball either, really, to be honest. So, I'm not sure which sport they're actually known for. Somebody will probably know in this chat. I guarantee it. But he transferred to Middle Tennessee State for the 2015 football season before spending 2 seasons as offensive graduate assistant and quarterbacks coach at Arkansas State from 2016 to 2017. So, he's had a lot of practice with offenses in college and in working under Frank Wright. That's what we learned from this. This is an interesting little tidbit. After his 3rd season with the Colts and first as an offensive quality control coach, he was one of the 4 Indy assistants selected to coach the East-West Shrine Bowl ahead of the 2021 draft. Of course, the game was canceled due to the COVID. Yeah, which we all are very, very aware of. But he helped in virtual training and informational drills with the players who participated. So I find that very interesting. There was a lot going on that year. And there was a lot of rule changes, a lot of cancellations. There was a lot of chaos going on. So it was interesting to see like who helped out virtually with some of these players back then. And who just decided not to, participate in a lot of stuff. And the ones that participated virtually and really, really got involved, those are the ones I'm very, very interested in. And those are the ones that are going to separate themselves on resumes, by the way, too, when they're looking for higher up coaching jobs. They had their. He had his. He married his wife in Charlotte, and Frank Wright actually officiated the wedding. Imagine that. Huh. So. Alright, so Jonathan Cooley. Now, this is the fun one right here. Defensive backs, cornerbacks coach. I am anxious to check this guy out in training camp. I love the D-backs coach, man. Any D-backs coach that we bring in, I love watching them and how animated they get on the field. It's just so much fun. And you can tell the ones that are really serious and passionate about their jobs when they start dancing around, doing the drills with them, you know, and just being their goofy old selves out there, you know, and building chemistry with the players. So it's fun, man. It's a lot of fun. But Cooley worked with the Rams. 2 of those 3 years that he has been coaching were spent with the Panthers defensive coordinator. Now, Ejiro Evero. So he took over the defensive backs in LA after Evero left LA for Denver in 2022. So Cooley was in his second year as a defensive assistant quality control coach with the Rams when they won. He worked alongside Evero, the Rams safeties coach in 2020, who we now have on our staff, and the secondary coach passing game coordinator in LA in 2021. Also Avero's job. So, the Rams secondary finished that season 3rd in picks, 19, and 5th in opponent's passer rating, 83.8, en route to a win over the Bengals in Super Bowl 56. Cooley then coached the defensive backs in LA last season. So we're talking big baller status right here. This is big name right here. He's got a ring. This dude's got a ring. And considering the fact that we already have 3 players from the Rams already on our 53-man roster, that is really awesome. I love that there's going to be a reuniting there with him and them in the building, and it's just going to be fantastic. Oh, man. And Evero coming in too. That's going to be awesome. Wow. So, after being selected for the NFL by the Bill Walsh Diversity Coaching Fellowship at the end of the 2019 college football season, Cooley helped the LA Rams defense hold opposing offenses to 16.8 points. Now, I want you all to think about that for a second. 16.8 points. This is an entire offense that they're holding to that. This is not a fluke, folks. This number is real. And we'll continue on with 281.9 yards per game. 0.7 yards per game in his first year as a defensive assistant quality control coach. These numbers are real, folks. You can look them up. Wow, man. That's amazing in the high-scoring league we have today. Exactly. Exactly my point, Carl. And while working with the secondary, Cooley also coached Jalen Ramsey. He received a Pro Bowl nod all 3 years he worked with Cooley. Not one, not two, but all three. Pay attention to that, folks. That's big. That's big right there. He also had a connection with former Rams assistant and current Chargers coach Brandon Staley from a previous job at John Carroll University. Imagine that, folks. Imagine that. So, I'm going to skip over the college stuff because you guys probably aren't interested in that. We're only interested in the NFL stuff, really. Unless you guys want to look this stuff up, I mean, it's on the Panthers website, right? If you guys really want to dig into the college part of it, you know, you have to dig a little deeper to find it. First coaching opportunities. He worked as a defensive backs coach and special assistant special teams coordinator with Millikan University in 2011. I mean, these are a bunch of colleges that most people probably haven't heard of. You know, JCU, Bluffton, and Millikan. Nobody's heard of those. I'm pretty sure of that. Because they aren't known for like big name colleges. You know, it's Division III, right? He did play in Division III football. I'm trying to see if there's any big names here. Cooley's alma mater also produced a significant number of prominent NFL figures, including Don Shula, Josh McDaniels, Nick Caserio, Castavia. Alright, so Brian Decker, former GM for Special Forces. Now this I don't know much about here. Brian Decker. Okay. Our secondary coaches have had a guy that's helped get Joe in 3 Pro Bowlers, as well as a former Pro Bowler himself as an assistant. Yes, sir. That's correct. That is correct. That's exactly what... So, Brian Decker here. He was a former Special Forces captain as their new Vice President of Development, a wide-ranging job that encompasses a number of duties here from helping elevate incoming players to developing players and coaches alike once they arrive. It's a big job, for sure, man. But he's done about 5 years in Indianapolis as well, so... Frank Wright had this to say about him. Some people you just rub shoulders with and you say, wow, I just want to be on that guy's team, or I want that guy on my team. You know, and that's high praise considering, you know, Frank's been around the league for a good hot minute here. You know, so if he likes him, I like him. I don't, like I say, I don't know much about this dude, so we're gonna find out. He was a former... Wow. Are you kidding me? This dude's a former Green Beret. He did two rotations in Iraq. Wow. Oh my God. And And his wife was within a month of delivering twins when he was deployed. Oh, man. Charge of a 12-person team when he went to the Middle East? Oh, wow. That's big, man. So he's got some leadership qualities, man. Big, big leadership qualities. That's an immense responsibility indeed. That's a huge weight on his shoulder. On his shoulders, man. And there's the picture of the group that he led. Man. That's something. 22 years of military service. Man. Much love to the military right now. I just want to take a moment and say that. Much love to the military. Thank you so much for protecting us and giving us the military. I tip my cap to you. To everybody that's done service there or is serving, thank you. Much love from the Keep Pounding crew. Alright, so special. Wow, man. He was responsible for running our selection process for all future Green Berets. Wow, man. Jeez. That is crazy. Wow. This dude's nuts, man. I love him. I love him already. Man, I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but, you know, Okay, you know, I'm going to post this entire article on the page. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let you guys read this. This is nuts right here. Wow. Okay. All right, so Todd Walsh. Let's get to Todd Walsh. Todd Walsh is going to be the defensive line coach. This is the other one I wanted to hold off on. Hold on. What is it? Peter Henson. Linebackers coach. Okay, yeah. Those are the two I want to hold off on for right now. Because I want y'all to see how those two connect with the whole team. It's going to be big. Alright, so Devin Fitzsimmons. Let's talk about him. He's going to be helping with special teams as an assistant special teams coordinator. He spent the last 2 years as an assistant in Arizona. Former special teams coach Jeff Rogers. He also had a 5-year stint with the Lions and a year with the Colts. In 2011, as offensive quality control coach, where he worked alongside Frank Wright and Jim Caldwell. Both names we just mentioned already as coaches for us. He had a number of stops in college where the last one at Vanderbilt fell. So there's not much to know about this guy right here. He's just going to be an assistant, and okay. Let's move on. Tim Lukabu. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. I apologize if I butcher it. I have a history of doing that. So if I do get it wrong, y'all, correct me in the chats, please. All right. He's going to be our outside linebackers coach. We've never had an outside linebackers coach. We've had a linebackers coach, but we've never had an outside linebackers coach. This is new. Okay? So let's kind of take a moment to adjust to that. He's had 15 years of coaching experience and 5 in the NFL coaching. He was most recently defensive coordinator at Boston College for 3 seasons. He worked with the Bengals and 49ers. I'm only interested in the NFL stuff right here. And I'm also interested in the fact that he coached linebacker Isaiah McDuffie, who was selected in the 6th round of the draft by the Packers, who put up 45 career tackles and a fumble recovery in 30 games across his first 2 seasons in the league. So there you go. Big numbers there. But he worked with the Bengals under head coach Zach Taylor, defensive coordinator Lou Urumno. I probably mispronounced that last name. I apologize. Yeah. You know the deal. So he worked in defensive quality control with the Niners under head coach Chip Kelly and Kyle Shanahan in 2017. Primarily with San Francisco 2016 and the secondary in 17, mentoring defensive backs Eric Reed and Jimmy Ward. Now, Eric Reed we know very well. Okay? Let's not get that twisted. That should be a name you recognize. So, college-wise, he was with Mississippi State in 2018. That's a major contender in the SEC. Defensive line at Florida International in 2015. Florida International hasn't really been a major team, like, ever. I've never seen Florida International do anything in college. But, you know, it is what it is. Let's see. Coached linebackers at Colgate. His alma mater? 9, okay. I'm familiar with all those coaches. Those schools. Those are big schools there. Rutgers occasionally comes up with a good team every once in a blue moon. They've been pretty much under the rug in their conference, but every once in a blue moon they come up with something. Alright, first NFL job as a defense assistant for the Buccaneers under head coach Greg Schiano. Yeah, Greg didn't last that long. 2012, he helped to guide a defense that first ranked in rush defense, and he also helped guide defensive tackle Jared McCoy to his first 2 Pro Bowls from 2012 to 2013, and a first-time All-Pro selection in 13. That's big, right there. Most people probably remember Gerald McCoy. If you don't, he was a big, monstrous guy, man. Ah. Burt Watts was a drum roll, please. He is now a safeties coach. 18 years of coaching experience in the NFL. Comes to Carolina after a year coaching